A corroded bronze lump pulled from a shipwreck held a secret that rewrites human history. This is the Antikythera Mechanism, a 2,000-year-old computer that calculated the cosmos with gears and dials. By the end of our journey, you will understand how this ancient device predicted eclipses and tracked planets, proving the technological genius of a lost era. How could such advanced knowledge vanish for over a millennium? And what does its discovery reveal about our own assumptions of progress? What forgotten marvels do you think still lie hidden, waiting to be found? That lump of bronze and wood sat quietly among the recovered treasures for nearly 2 years, its true nature completely overlooked. It was archaeologist Valerio Stais who first saw something more. While examining the heavily corroded mass in 1902, his eye caught a glint of metal that was too precise, too geometric to be a random shape. It was a gear wheel, and as he looked closer, he realized there were more of them, an entire system of intricate mechanisms frozen in time. His discovery ignited a scientific debate that would last for decades. How could such a complex assembly of gears, something that looked like the inside of a modern clock, possibly be 2,000 years old? The prevailing belief was that technology this sophisticated simply did not exist in the ancient world. Many experts dismissed it as a medieval astrolabe that had somehow fallen into the older wreck, an anomaly that could be explained away. The mechanism was so far ahead of its time and so unique that it defied immediate understanding. Its very existence was a historical paradox pulled from the sea. For half a century, it remained a beautiful but baffling mystery, a ghost of a technology that should not have been. The key to unlocking its secrets, however, would not come from archaeology alone, but from the cutting-edge science of a new era. For decades, the mechanism was treated as little more than a curiosity, its true identity obscured by the rust of time and the even more stubborn rust of disbelief. When those corroded fragments first arrived at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, many esteemed archaeologists could not reconcile the intricate gears with their understanding of the ancient world. They concluded it must be a medieval astrolabe, a later object that had simply fallen into the older wreckage. This was the safest, most logical explanation for something that seemed to defy the entire timeline of human invention. Yet a few lone voices dared to disagree. In the early 20th century, the German philologist Albert Rehm studied the fragments and proposed a revolutionary idea. He believed it was a complex astronomical calculator, an ancient machine for modeling the heavens. His theories, however, were met with silence and skepticism from the wider academic establishment, too radical to be accepted. The mechanism was a ghost in the machine of history, an impossible object that challenged everything we thought we knew. For nearly half a century, it remained a beautiful enigma, its secrets locked away. The turning point finally came with the meticulous work of a British science historian named Derek J. de Solla Price. Beginning in the 1950s, Price brought a new, systematic approach to the study. He used emerging technologies like gamma radiography to peer inside the corroded lump without destroying it, revealing hidden gear trains and intricate inscriptions. His patience and persistence culminated in his groundbreaking 1974 paper, Gears from the Greeks. In it, he presented a detailed model of the device, arguing conclusively that it was a sophisticated analog computer from the 1st century before the Common Era. This was the moment the scientific world could no longer look away. The journey from dismissal to astonishment reveals a profound truth. Our preconceived notions about technological progress can act as blinders, making it difficult to see the evidence right in front of us. The Antikythera Mechanism forced a re-evaluation of history itself, proving that genius is not a linear path but can appear in flashes of brilliance, then vanish for centuries. With its legitimacy finally established, the real detective work could begin, focusing on the physical object itself and the intricate clockwork that made it all possible. When Director Solla Price first saw the X-ray images, he was looking at a technological ghost. The surviving fragments of the Antikythera Mechanism are a breathtakingly complex jigsaw puzzle of 82 separate pieces. At its heart are 30 precisely cut bronze gears, all designed to interlock with a level of accuracy that would be impressive even for a modern watchmaker. The largest fragment, standing about 180 millimeters tall, holds the majority of these gears. Some of their teeth were cut at a 60-degree angle, a design that allowed them to mesh together perfectly, transferring motion from one gear to the next with minimal slippage. This was not a crude prototype. It was a finely tuned instrument, a machine built to last. Originally, this entire bronze brain was housed in a compact wooden case, roughly the size of a large shoebox, with protective doors on the front and back. You would open these doors to read the dials and pointers within, which moved to reveal the secrets of the cosmos. But perhaps the most telling clue lies in the inscriptions. They cover every available surface, a detailed user manual etched in bronze. The sheer volume of text and the refined, standardized craftsmanship strongly suggest this device was not a one-off experiment. It was likely mass-produced, at least on a small scale, part of a known tradition of creating such celestial calculators. This realization is staggering. We are not looking at a singular miracle, but at a sample of a lost technology, a science that was understood, taught, and replicated. So what did all these gears and dials actually do? The inscriptions provide the first real clues to its purpose, guiding us toward understanding the universe as the ancients saw it. Those inscriptions, painstakingly revealed by high-resolution surface imaging and CT scans, form a sprawling text of over 3,500 characters. This was not random decoration. It was the mechanism's voice, a detailed user guide and technical manual etched directly into its bronze plates. The style of the Greek script is unmistakably from the 1st century before the Common Era, a clear timestamp from its creators. As you opened the wooden case, these words would have guided your hand and your mind. They label the dials with the names of planets and the signs of the zodiac. They explain the complex interplay of different calendar systems used across the ancient Mediterranean. You are not just looking at a machine, you are reading its operating system. Scholars like Alexander Jones have pieced together this ancient manual, and its contents are astonishing. The text details planetary cycles, giving instructions on how to track the wandering paths of worlds known to the Greeks. It contains eclipse predictions, not just as simple dates, but with notations about the color and direction of the eclipse, information steeped in both science and the omens of the time. It even references the timing of major athletic games, including the ancient Olympics, tying the grand cosmic clock to the most important social events of the era. This device was a unified theory of time, connecting the movements of the heavens with the rhythms of human life on Earth. The very handwriting tells its own story. The inscriptions appear to be the work of multiple individuals. This suggests the mechanism was not the product of a lone, isolated genius toiling in a secret workshop. It was likely created in a bustling atelier, a place where specialized craftsmen collaborated. One person may have been the master astronomer who designed the gear ratios, while another was the skilled scribe who engraved the text, and yet another the metalworker who painstakingly cut each tiny tooth on the gears. This was a production line for knowledge, a workshop dedicated to building portable cosmic calculators. These words offer us a direct window into the scientific mind of the ancient world. The creators of the Antikythera Mechanism were not merely stargazers, they were modelers of the universe. They sought to capture the logic of the cosmos in bronze and to hold its mathematical elegance in the palm of their hand. The inscriptions are the key that unlocks the machine's true purpose, revealing a sophistication that forces us to ask a bigger question: where did this knowledge come from? What kind of world and what school of thought could have produced such a perfect fusion of engineering and astronomy? This device did not emerge from a vacuum. It was born from a historical supernova of knowledge, the Hellenistic period, which stretched from the death of Alexander the Great in the year 323 to the rise of the Roman Empire. This was a true golden age of science, a time when the known world was suddenly stitched together by conquest and commerce, creating a vibrant melting pot of ideas. Alexander's empire, sprawling from Greece to Egypt and deep into Asia, shattered old boundaries. For the first time, Babylonian star charts could mingle with Greek geometry and Egyptian engineering in the same room. This was the fertile ground where a mechanism of such complexity could take root and grow. At the heart of this intellectual explosion were the great library centers, like the legendary Library of Alexandria. Think of these not as quiet halls of books, but as the Silicon Valleys of the ancient world. They were magnets for genius, attracting minds like Archimedes, who invented entire fields of mathematics and designed war machines that seemed like magic. Hipparchus, who mapped the stars with astonishing accuracy and discovered the precession of the equinoxes, and Posidonius, who attempted to measure the circumference of the entire Earth. These were not isolated scholars. They were part of a connected network, debating, building, and competing to understand the universe. This environment buzzed with technological ambition. The Greeks of this era were not just thinkers, they were master engineers. They built intricate water clocks that kept precise time, designed steam-powered engines as novelties, and created astonishing automata, mechanical statues of gods that could move and pour wine. In such a world, a geared computer to model the planets was not just a possibility, it was almost an inevitability. The Antikythera Mechanism itself stands as proof of this globalized science. Its internal logic is a perfect hybrid. It uses raw astronomical data, centuries of eclipse observations, that were meticulously recorded by Babylonian priests. But it processes this data through the elegant geometrical models and theories developed by the Greek astronomers. It is a physical embodiment of intellectual collaboration, a bronze brain that speaks two ancient scientific languages fluently. So when we marvel at its gears, we are not just looking at a machine. We are witnessing the pinnacle of a forgotten scientific revolution, a brief window in time when the ancient world came tantalizingly close to a modern understanding of technology. This convergence of knowledge raises a profound question. If they could build this, what cosmic truths did they encode within its spinning gears? What specific secrets of the solar system was this ancient computer built to reveal? The true genius of this device lies in the cosmic riddles it was built to solve. The universe, as the Greeks well knew, does not run like a perfect clock. The planets do not glide across the sky at a steady pace, and the moon appears to speed up and slow down in its monthly journey. This irregularity, this celestial dance with variable rhythm, is what astronomers call the first anomaly. We now understand this is caused by the elliptical shape of orbits, but 2,000 years ago, it was a profound mystery. The Antikythera Mechanism did not just ignore this complexity, it embraced it. Its gearwork was ingeniously designed to mimic this very irregularity. making the moon pointer on its dial slow down and speed up to match the moon's actual, observed path through the stars. This was not a simple approximation. It was a precise mechanical simulation of a subtle astronomical truth. To manage the grand cycles of time, the mechanism's creators encoded several long-term calendars into its bronze heart. One dial tracked the Metonic cycle, a period of 19 years after which the phases of the moon repeat on the same calendar dates. This was essential for keeping lunar and solar calendars in sync. An even more refined dial followed the Calippic cycle, a longer period of 76 years that refined the Metonic cycle for greater accuracy. But perhaps the most dramatic function was its ability to predict eclipses using the Saros cycle. This is a period of approximately 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours after which the Sun, Earth, and Moon return to nearly the same relative positions, causing a similar pattern of eclipses to repeat. The mechanism not only predicted the dates of these celestial events but also their characteristics, noting whether an eclipse would be solar or lunar, and even the time of day it would be visible. Imagine the power this bestowed upon its user. You could open this small box and know, decades in advance, the precise days when the sun would vanish from the sky. All of this was achieved without a single line of computer code. The calculations were performed mechanically through an intricate ballet of spinning gears. The relationships between these cosmic cycles were translated into mathematical ratios, which were then physically embodied in the number of teeth on one gear versus another. A gear with 64 teeth turning another with 38 teeth creates a specific speed reduction, a physical equation that represents, for instance, the moon's slow wobble through space. This was a computer made not of silicon but of bronze and human ingenuity. It took abstract astronomical theory, the kind found in dense scrolls, and gave it a tangible, turning form. You could hold this model of the universe in your hands, wind a handle, and watch the cosmos unfold according to a precise, predictable logic. The mechanism's very existence poses a tantalizing question. If they could build such an elegant machine to represent the heavens, what other mechanical wonders might have been lost to time, and how did the intricate gears inside actually achieve this cosmic calculation? This intricate dance of bronze was powered by a form of mechanical genius not seen again for over 1,000 years. Deep within the gear train, researchers discovered a component that should not have existed, a differential gear. This is the same type of assembly found in the axle of a modern car, allowing wheels to spin at different speeds while turning a corner. In the mechanism, this brilliant piece of engineering was used to calculate the ever-changing phase of the moon by subtracting 2 rotational speeds. Its presence here in a device from the 1st century before the Common Era is nothing short of breathtaking, a conceptual leap that rewrites the history of invention. The entire system was built around gears with very specific, meaningful tooth counts. A massive gear with 223 teeth, for instance, was the physical embodiment of the Saros eclipse cycle, its slow, deliberate rotation marking the 18-year rhythm of solar and lunar eclipses. Another set of gears with counts like 38 and 48 were precisely calculated to replicate the irregular motions of the planets. This was not guesswork. Each gear was a mathematical statement, a physical representation of a cosmic ratio turned into bronze. Beyond the planets and stars, the machine also tracked the heartbeat of Greek society. A special dial, now called the Olympiad dial, counted down the 4-year cycles leading to the most celebrated athletic games, including the Olympics themselves. With a single turn of a handle, a user could see when the next games would be held in Ilies, or when the chariot races would begin in Delphi. This fusion is profound. The mechanism did not separate the celestial from the cultural. It presented a unified vision of time, where the predictable cycles of the heavens were intimately woven into the calendar of human celebration and competition. The physical craftsmanship required to achieve this was staggering. Some of the gear teeth are just over a millimeter in size, cut with a precision that would challenge a modern machinist. This implies the use of specialized tools and a deep, working knowledge of metalworking, a level of technology we simply did not attribute to the ancient world. This device was a true computer, performing complex astronomical calculations that would otherwise require years of mathematical training and laborious work with scrolls and abacuses. It automated genius, putting the predictive power of a master astronomer into a portable box. The existence of such a sophisticated object forces a single, haunting question into the light. Who was brilliant enough to conceive of it? What kind of mind could design a machine that would not be rivaled for 1,500 years? The identity of its creator is a ghost that haunts the history of science. We know the machine, but we do not know the mind behind it. Several figures from the ancient world possess the brilliance to be considered, yet the evidence points in multiple directions. The legendary Archimedes of Syracuse stands as a prime suspect. Historical records, particularly the writings of the Roman orator Cicero, describe a bronze sphere built by Archimedes that modeled the motions of the sun, moon, and planets. This device was said to have been captured as war booty and brought to Rome, a story that aligns perfectly with the timeline and destination of the Antikythera shipwreck. Archimedes was a master of both abstract mathematics and practical engineering, the exact combination of skills needed to design such a complex gear train. Yet he died in 212, decades before the ship is believed to have sunk. Could his designs have been preserved, copied, and improved upon by later generations? Another compelling candidate is Hipparchus of Rhodes, one of the greatest observational astronomers of antiquity. It was Hipparchus who first mathematically described the moon's irregular orbit, a key feature perfectly replicated inside the mechanism. His theories are so deeply embedded in the device's calculations that it seems almost like a physical manifestation of his work. The ship itself was traveling from the cultural hub of Rhodes, a major center for astronomy and engineering, making Hipparchus or one of his followers on Rhodes a very plausible creator. But perhaps we are searching for a single genius in the wrong place. The mechanism's refined craftsmanship and the multiple hands that engraved its manuals suggest it was the product of a specialized workshop, not a lone inventor. Such a shop, possibly located in Rhodes, Corinth, or Syracuse, might have produced these devices for wealthy patrons, royal courts, or even philosophical schools. They would have employed teams of artisans, each a master in their own field, collaborating to turn astronomical theory into a tangible, working model. This possibility is in some ways even more astonishing than a single brilliant mind. It implies a sustained tradition, a school of thought dedicated to building cosmic computers, a technology that was taught, refined, and replicated. The very fact that we cannot name its creator speaks volumes. It tells us that the level of technological sophistication this device represents was likely more widespread, more integrated into the intellectual culture of the time than we ever imagined. Its anonymity is a powerful reminder of how much has been lost. So much knowledge, so many names, entire schools of engineering, vanished into the silence of history. This mystery forces us to look past the who and focus on the what. If we cannot know the brilliant mind that designed it, we can at least strive to understand the world it was built for and the people who would have held this miniature universe in their hands. That small wooden box was a window to the cosmos. On its front face, a brilliant dial displayed the entire zodiac, the band of constellations through which the sun and planets appear to travel. A separate ring showed the 365-day Egyptian calendar, a practical, solar-based system used by astronomers of the era. Moving across this starry backdrop were not one or two, but 7 individual pointers. One for the sun, another for the moon, and 5 more for the wandering planets known to the ancients: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. To turn the handle was to set this miniature universe in motion, watching the celestial bodies progress through the sky according to their true, observed speeds. But its most dramatic power lay in prediction, a sophisticated subsystem governed by the slow turn of the Saros cycle gear could forecast lunar and solar eclipses with remarkable accuracy. It did not just give a date. A small sphere, likely half black and half silver, would indicate the exact time of the event. Even more astonishing, the inscriptions noted the expected color of an eclipse, a deep red or a dusky gray. For the ancient Greeks, an eclipse was not just an astronomical event, it was a potent omen. The ability to foresee such a terrifying moment when the sun was swallowed by darkness would have been seen as a form of divine knowledge, a way to understand and perhaps even appease the gods. This was science in the service of society, blending precise observation with deep cultural belief. The mechanism also kept its user grounded in the rhythms of human life. A special dial, the game's dial, counted down the years to the great Pan-Hellenic athletic festivals. With a glance, you could see when the Olympic Games would be held in Olympia, or when the Nemean Games would begin in the Peloponnese. It unified the celestial and the civic, presenting a single, seamless reality where the orbit of Jupiter was as important as the timing of a chariot race. Perhaps its most mechanically brilliant feat was its modeling of the planets. The Greeks were deeply puzzled by the retrograde motion of planets like Mars, which seems to slow down, reverse course, and then resume its path through the stars. The mechanism solved this riddle with pure engineering genius. It used a system of epicyclic gearing, a small gear riding on a larger one, to make the planetary pointers trace these elegant loops in the sky. This created a perfect mechanical analog for the planet's strange dance, a concept so advanced that it would not be reinvented in Europe until the 14th century. This was not merely a planetarium. It was a unified theory of everything its users cared about, a compact oracle for sailors navigating by the stars, farmers planning their harvests by the seasons, and priests interpreting the will of the gods through celestial signs. To operate this device was to hold a complete model of time itself, from the grand cycles of the cosmos down to the next great sporting event. But how did one actually use such a complex machine, and what kind of person was deemed worthy of wielding its knowledge? To operate this cosmic oracle, you would turn a small hand crank on its side. This single motion set the entire universe of gears in motion, a gentle whir of bronze teeth spinning the pointers across the dials on both the front and back of the wooden case. The process was elegantly simple. First, you would input a specific date by carefully rotating the main calendar dial to the desired day. Then, as you turn the crank, the intricate gear trains would calculate and display the corresponding positions of the sun, the moon, and all 5 known planets against the backdrop of the zodiac. You could then read the celestial forecast for that day or watch the heavens unfold day by day with every turn of your wrist. This was interactive technology, a hands-on model of the cosmos. The back of the device held further revelations. One dial featured a parapegma, a sophisticated star calendar that linked the rising and setting of specific constellations to seasonal weather patterns and the activities of the natural world. For a farmer, this could predict the arrival of the rainy season or the best time to plant his crops. For a sea captain planning a voyage across the Mediterranean, It offered guidance on the shifting winds and the coming of stormy seasons. This was not abstract stargazing, it was practical, life-saving knowledge encoded in metal. To keep track of important dates, small colored markers made of stone or glass could likely be placed in tiny holes next to the dials, much like we use pins or tabs on a modern paper calendar. This allowed a user to mark the date of an upcoming eclipse, the start of the Olympic Games, or the beginning of the sailing season. The sheer volume of explanatory text etched onto the plates acts as a comprehensive user manual, walking an educated person through its many functions. This suggests the mechanism was not meant only for priestly elites or reclusive geniuses. It was designed for a wealthy merchant, a ship's navigator, or a landowner, someone who needed reliable astronomical data for their business, their travels, or their civic duties. It democratized the most advanced science of its age, transforming complex calculations that would take a lifetime to master into information accessible at the turn of a crank. This ancient computer challenges our modern assumption that such user-friendly technological interfaces are a recent invention. It prompts a deeper curiosity. How did we, after more than 2,000 years, finally manage to decipher the full complexity of a machine that was so far ahead of its time? For decades, the mechanism's deepest secrets were locked away inside its corroded shell, completely invisible to the naked eye. The breakthrough came in the early 2000s when a collaborative team from Cardiff University and Hewlett-Packard brought the full power of modern imaging to bear on the ancient fragments. They used a technique called X-ray tomography, which is like creating a three-dimensional map of an object's internal structure slice by slice, without ever needing to touch it. This was the equivalent of giving archaeologists X-ray vision. For the first time, they could see through the layers of corrosion and centuries of calcified deposits, revealing gear trains and inscriptions that had been completely hidden. The results were staggering. The amount of readable text on the device more than tripled, giving scholars a vastly more complete user manual to decipher. At the same time, another team used a method called polynomial texture mapping to capture the exterior surfaces in incredible detail. This process involves taking dozens of photographs under different lighting angles, then combining them into a single, hyper-detailed image that reveals surface variations invisible under normal light. This showed not just what was written, but how the metal had worn down from human touch. They could see the polish on certain dials from a finger repeatedly turning them, and the slight grooves where a pointer had moved back and forth for generations. These were the intimate marks of use, the ghostly impressions of the last person who operated this machine 2,000 years ago. All of this data was fed into the Antikythera Mechanism Research Project, an international effort that built the first comprehensive digital model of the entire device. This virtual reconstruction allowed them to animate the gear trains, to see how motion flowed from one gear to the next, and to digitally recreate parts that had been lost to the sea. It was through this digital resurrection that the mechanism's most astonishing secrets were confirmed. They could see the brilliant differential gear in action, a component that should not have existed for another millennium. They uncovered sub-mechanisms for the planets that were far more complex than anyone had dared to guess, with epicyclic gears creating the perfect, loopy retrograde motions of Mars and Venus. These were not just theoretical ideas sketched on papyrus. They were fully engineered solutions carved in bronze and now visible for the first time in 2,000 years. This non-destructive technological archaeology fundamentally rewrote the device's story, transforming it from a remarkable artifact into a pinnacle of ancient engineering. The modern science that revealed its secrets now poses a new and exciting challenge. If we can see how it worked so clearly, could we actually build one? That polished bronze, worn smooth by ancient hands, now inspires modern ones to rebuild its lost brilliance. The journey to truly understand the Antikythera mechanism has always been a hands-on process, one that requires not just analyzing the fragments but physically recreating them. Since the full scale of its complexity became clear, a global community of historians, engineers, and master craftsmen have taken on the ultimate challenge, building working replicas to test centuries-old ideas with modern tools. British clockmaker John Gleave was a pioneer in this effort. In the 1990s, he constructed one of the first functional models, a beautiful assembly of brass gears that proved the core concepts could work. His model, however, had to simplify the mechanism's most astonishing features, like the complex planetary displays, because the full theoretical understanding simply was not there yet. It was a crucial first step, a proof of concept that showed the world a physical, turning version of the ancient computer. To verify the intricate gear trains proposed by scholars, the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki took a different approach. They built a replica using computer-controlled machining and modern manufacturing methods. This was not about historical accuracy, but about pure engineering validation. Could these specific gear ratios with these exact numbers of teeth actually produce the celestial motions described in the inscriptions? The answer was a resounding yes. Their model confirmed that the theoretical arrangements deciphered from the X-ray data were mechanically sound and would function with breathtaking precision. The most ambitious reconstruction to date comes from the University College London Antikythera research team. In 2021, they published a radical new theoretical model that accounted for every single known gear and inscription. Then they did something even more remarkable. They built a stunning functional replica, but this time they primarily used techniques and materials available in the 1st century before the Common Era. This meant hand-cutting each of the 38 bronze gears with a bow drill and files, and carefully engraving the tiny Greek letters onto the plates. The process was grueling, revealing the immense practical challenges the original makers overcame. The friction between the bronze gears required constant lubrication. The design of each gear tooth had to be perfectly angled to ensure smooth meshing without jamming. Even the simple act of aligning all the axles on a single plate with primitive tools was a feat of supreme skill and patience. Every replica built, from the simplest to the most historically accurate, deepens our awe for the original creators. They did not have computer models to test their designs. They worked out these impossibly complex gear trains in their minds, then translated abstract astronomy into tangible, turning bronze. These modern reconstructions are more than just models. They are time machines bridging 2,000 years of technological history. They allow us to feel the weight of the crank in our own hand, to watch the planets trace their loops, and to finally share the same breathtaking view of the cosmos that an ancient scholar once held. This tangible connection to the past makes the mechanism's ultimate fate all the more poignant. Why did such a revolutionary technology vanish from history for over a millennium, leaving no trace behind? That polished bronze brain was a true citizen of the ancient world. Inside its compact case, two great scientific traditions converged into a single, ticking truth. The mechanism's power to predict eclipses did not come from Greek philosophy, but from the meticulous, centuries-long observations of Babylonian priests. These ancient scholars, watching the skies from their ziggurats, discovered the Saros cycle, a repeating pattern of eclipses spanning 18 years and 11 days. They recorded this celestial rhythm on clay tablets in cuneiform script, creating a vast database of celestial events. The Greek engineers who built the mechanism took this raw Babylonian data and processed it through their own genius for geometrical models and mechanical design. They translated the long, slow count of the Saros cycle into a physical gear with 223 teeth, a bronze wheel that turned once every 18 years to point to the next time the moon would shadow the Earth. This was not merely borrowing, it was a complete fusion of knowledge where empirical data met theoretical engineering. The device's calendar system reveals a similar synthesis. One dial tracks the 19-year Metonic cycle, a Babylonian concept that harmonizes lunar months with the solar year, crucial for creating accurate calendars. Right alongside it, the mechanism displays the straightforward 365-day Egyptian calendar, the practical solar calendar used for daily life and administration across the Mediterranean. A user could instantly compare these different systems, seeing how the same moment in time was understood by different cultures. This was a multicultural timekeeper built for an interconnected world. The mathematical heart of the machine confirms this international heritage. The precise ratios of the gear teeth, the number of teeth on one gear meshing with another, correspond exactly to the known planetary periods that Babylonian astronomers had calculated and recorded. For instance, the gearing for Venus matches the relationship between its cycles that is found on cuneiform tablets. The Greeks provided the engine, but the Babylonians provided the blueprints for the cosmos it modeled. This cross-pollination of ideas created something entirely new, a device more advanced and comprehensive than anything that had existed in Babylon or Greece alone. It stands as powerful proof that innovation rarely happens in isolation. When cultures connect, when knowledge is allowed to flow across borders, the result can be a leap in understanding that changes history. If such a sophisticated device could emerge from this ancient melting pot of ideas, what other technological marvels, now lost to us, might have once existed in the workshops of Alexandria or the markets of Rhodes? The lonely survival of the Antikythera Mechanism makes its story all the more haunting, for it was almost certainly not alone. Historical whispers suggest it belonged to an entire family of lost mechanical marvels. The Roman philosopher Cicero, writing in the 1st century before the Common Era, described with his own eyes 2 bronze spheres that modeled the cosmos. One, he claimed, was built by the legendary Archimedes himself, captured as spoils of war and brought to Rome. He wrote that when this sphere was set in motion, the sun, moon, and 5 planets moved in their precise, divine orbits, just as they do in the real sky. This is not a vague myth, it is a first-hand account from a respected statesman, describing a device that sounds almost identical to the functions of our mechanism. But the tradition did not end with Archimedes. In the bustling intellectual hub of Alexandria, the engineer hero created entire automated theaters. His writings detail complex systems of weights, pulleys, and gears that could make small wooden figures perform an entire tragic play, with doors opening automatically and miniature ships sailing across a stage. These were not just toys, they were sophisticated demonstrations of the same principles of mechanics and pneumatics that powered the Antikythera computer. The knowledge even appears to have traveled through time and across empires. Centuries later, in the grand court of the Byzantine emperors in Constantinople, visitors wrote of astonishing automata designed to inspire awe and project power. They described a magnificent golden throne, known as the Throne of Solomon, flanked by mechanical lions that roared and twisted, and golden birds that sang from a nearby tree. While these were courtly spectacles, their underlying technology of gears, levers, and automated sequences was a direct descendant of that earlier Hellenistic engineering genius. This chain of evidence points to a sustained tradition of high technology, a thread of knowledge that managed to persist, however faintly. Arabic scholars of the medieval period became crucial guardians of this dying flame. In the 9th century, the Banu Musa brothers in Baghdad wrote their book of ingenious devices, detailing over 100 automata and complex machines, including geared mechanisms for dispensing fluids and musical automata that played flutes. Their work was a direct translation and expansion of the Greek engineering texts, preserving the core ideas of programmable machines for centuries. So if these devices were once relatively common, where did they all go? The sad truth is that bronze, a valuable and reusable material, was far more likely to be melted down for coins or weapons than preserved as a scientific curiosity. Wood rots and iron corrodes to dust. The Antikythera Mechanism only survived because it was sealed in a cold, dark shipwreck at the bottom of the sea, protected from the recycling hands of later generations. Its existence is a one-in-a-million accident of history, a single flickering candle that illuminates a vast, darkened room of lost achievement. This staggering loss forces us to reconsider a pivotal question in the history of technology. If this knowledge was not entirely lost, but merely fragmented and scattered, what role did these ancient mechanical computers play in the long journey toward our modern world? Did their memory help spark the technological revolutions of the Renaissance 1,000 years later? That lone survivor from the sea hints at a ghost lineage of technology. While no unbroken chain of gears connects it directly to the great cathedral clocks of medieval Europe, the mechanism's existence shatters the illusion of a dark age completely devoid of mechanical genius. The flame of this knowledge, though flickering, was never fully extinguished. It was kept alive in the great libraries and workshops of the Byzantine Empire and the Islamic world, where scholars meticulously preserved, translated, and commented on the ancient Greek texts on mechanics and engineering. Centuries after the Antikythera ship sank, in the courts of Persian and Arabic scholars, we find clear echoes of its principles. The brilliant polymath al-Biruni, in the 11th century, designed a geared calendar device that used a complex train of 8 gears to track the phases of the moon and the dates of religious festivals. It was a different machine for a different culture, but its underlying logic, the use of interlocking bronze wheels to model celestial cycles, was precisely the same. This was not a rediscovery, but a continuation. So when sophisticated astronomical clocks suddenly appeared in the cathedral towers of Europe in the 14th century, their intricate gearwork tracing the paths of the sun and moon, it was likely not a spontaneous invention. It was the culmination of a slow, centuries-long transfusion of knowledge. Ancient Greek mechanical principles, preserved and enhanced by Islamic scholars, finally flowed back into Europe through translated texts, traveling along trade routes from the Muslim world into Spain and Italy. The gears of the Antikythera Mechanism were a conceptual leap so profound that they stand alone for over a millennium. The differential gear at its heart, which calculated the moon's phase by subtracting motions, is a principle fundamental to the modern automobile, allowing wheels to turn at different speeds. This demonstrates that the fundamental principles of complex mechanical computation were not only discovered in antiquity, but were engineered into a working machine. This stop-and-start journey challenges our comfortable narrative of linear progress, of a steady climb from primitive tools to sophisticated computers. It suggests instead that knowledge is a fragile thing, capable of being lost, scattered, and then painstakingly reassembled across cultures and centuries. The mechanism forces us to ask a deeper question. If this one device survived by pure chance, what other conceptual leaps did the ancient world make that vanished without a trace, leaving no wreck for us to find? This reflection on its lost legacy brings us to the final, profound layer of its story, the cultural earthquake it represents and the silent warning it carries for our own civilization. This device was far more than a scientific instrument. It was a key that unlocked the very rhythm of ancient Greek civilization. To understand its true purpose, you must see the sky as they did, not as a distant void, but as a living, divine text. The movements of the planets were the actions of the gods, and an eclipse was a terrifying message, an omen that could foretell the fall of a king or the outcome of a coming battle. In such a world, the ability to predict a solar eclipse was not just an academic exercise, it was a form of power. A general consulting the mechanism before a campaign could be forewarned, his troops prepared for the celestial sign that might shake their morale or that of their enemy. This was science in the service of statecraft, a way to navigate the uncertainties of human conflict by reading the clockwork of the heavens. On a more grounded level, the mechanism's calendar was the engine of daily life. Its dials tracked the seasons not for poets, but for farmers who needed to know the precise window for planting and harvest to ensure their community's survival. It marked the dates of religious festivals with unerring accuracy, ensuring that the sacrifices and games meant to honor the gods were performed at the correct and most auspicious moments. For the merchant or the sea captain, its parapegma, its star calendar, provided vital intelligence on the shifting winds and the onset of stormy seasons, making the difference between a profitable voyage and a shipwreck. This machine brought the grand cosmic order down to earth, making it relevant to the farmer in his field, the priest in his temple, and the sailor on the open sea. Possessing such a device was also a profound statement of status and enlightenment. A wealthy patron who commissioned a mechanism was not just buying a tool, he was acquiring a symbol. It demonstrated his connection to the highest forms of knowledge, his patronage of the arts and sciences, and his philosophical sophistication. To own this miniature universe was to show that you understood, or at least had access to, the underlying logic of creation itself. This reflects the core Greek philosophical ideal, championed by thinkers like Plato and Aristotle, that the universe operated according to a rational, predictable order, a cosmos that could be understood through careful observation and reason. The Antikythera Mechanism was the ultimate expression of that belief, a physical model that made abstract philosophy turn and click into place. In the hands of its user, the mechanism seamlessly wove together the threads of religion, agriculture, politics, and philosophy. It did not see these as separate spheres of life. For the ancient Greeks, science was not a niche pursuit isolated in a laboratory. It was an integral part of a comprehensive worldview, a way to find meaning and pattern in every aspect of existence, from the motions of Mars to the price of grain. This holistic approach raises a crucial point about their scientific process. If their goal was to model the entire cosmos in a box, what specific methods of observation, calculation, and verification did they employ to achieve such an astonishingly accurate result? This ancient computer operated on a methodology we would recognize as profoundly scientific. Its creators were not simply philosophers gazing at the stars. They were engineers of the cosmos, employing a rigorous two-step process. First, they relied on centuries of empirical observation, painstakingly recorded by generations of Babylonian and Greek astronomers. These long-term datasets, etched onto clay tablets and papyrus scrolls, provided the raw numbers, the precise orbital periods of planets, and the recurring patterns of eclipses. The mechanism's very existence proves a commitment today to collection on a scale we rarely associate with antiquity. But the second, more brilliant step was the translation of this data into physical law. The abstract mathematical relationships discovered in the numbers, the ratios between planetary cycles and lunar months, were not left as equations on a page. They were engineered into the very teeth of the gears, a gear with 64 teeth turning another with 38, created a specific speed reduction that perfectly mimicked the Moon's variable motion. This was mechanical modeling of the highest order, a physical incarnation of cosmic theory. This bronze model served a dual purpose, functioning as both a research tool and an educational device. For the master astronomer, it was a simulator. By turning the crank and observing the pointers, he could test theoretical predictions against known events from the past. Did the model correctly show the eclipse that occurred 20 years ago? If not, the underlying gear ratios could be questioned and refined. It was an ancient form of computational modeling, a way to run simulations of the universe to verify its own internal logic. For the student or the wealthy patron, the same device became a powerful teaching aid. It transformed the incomprehensible complexity of planetary retrograde motion from a dry geometrical theorem into a visible, elegant loop traced by a pointer across the dial. You could see the theory in action, making the logic of the cosmos tangible and accessible. This seamless integration of research and demonstration reveals a scientific culture that valued both the discovery of knowledge and its clear communication. The mindset behind this machine challenges our deepest assumptions about ancient science. We often picture Greek thinkers as pure philosophers, contemplating ideal forms in isolation from the messy physical world. The Antikythera Mechanism shatters that stereotype. Here, abstract geometry and hands-on metalworking are fused into one discipline. This was not speculative science, it was applied science. It demanded a relentless feedback loop between observation, theory, and practical engineering. The creators had to observe the sky, develop a mathematical model to explain what they saw, and then possess the technical skill to build that model in bronze. This holistic approach, where thinking and making were inseparable, is strikingly modern. It forces us to reconsider what was lost during the long centuries when such integrated knowledge was fragmented. The device stands as a silent testament to a path not taken, a vision of scientific progress that combined the theoretical with the tangible in a way that would not be seen again for over 1,000 years. The mathematical elegance of this ancient computer is written in the language of its gear teeth. Each tooth count was a deliberate choice, a numerical representation of a cosmic truth. To model the grand Saros eclipse cycle of approximately 6,585 1/3 days, the creators needed a gear that would complete one full rotation over that precise period. Their brilliant solution was a massive gear with 223 teeth, because 223 is the number of lunar months in a single Saros cycle. This was not a random number, it was astronomy made physical. The gear itself became the cycle, its slow, majestic turn counting down the 18 years between repeating eclipse patterns. But the Moon presented an even trickier problem. Its orbit is not a perfect circle, causing its speed to vary throughout the month. To capture this celestial irregularity, the mechanism employed a gear with 53 teeth. This specific number was the key to creating the subtle speeding up and slowing down of the Moon pointer on the dial, a mechanical simulation of an elliptical orbit crafted centuries before the concept was formally understood. The genius lies in how these numbers were chosen. Researchers have identified a principle they call prime factor gearing. The designers broke down complex astronomical periods into their most basic mathematical components, their prime factors. They then distributed these prime factors across different gears in the train. For example, a large number might be factored into its primes, like 2, 3, and 7, and these factors would be physically embodied in separate, smaller gears that meshed together. This modular approach was a stroke of engineering brilliance, allowing them to build up immensely long and accurate cycles from a series of simpler, easier to manufacture components. Perhaps their most sophisticated mathematical trick was handling numbers that never end. Many astronomical ratios are irrational. They cannot be expressed as a simple fraction of two whole numbers. You cannot cut a gear with a fraction of a tooth, so the creators used a mathematical technique known as continued fraction approximations. This allowed them to find the best possible whole number approximations for these messy, infinite decimals, creating gear ratios that were accurate to within a tiny, almost negligible margin of error over the lifetime of the device. They were mathematically optimizing their machine, balancing precision with the physical constraints of bronze and craftsmanship. This level of computational thinking is astounding. It demonstrates that the creators were not merely copying known numbers, they were processing them, manipulating them with a skill we would not see again until the time of early modern mathematicians like Kepler. They were using gears as their calculator, solving problems of celestial mechanics through an intricate dance of metal. The ongoing research into these mathematical choices continues to reveal new layers of genius, forcing us to constantly revise our understanding of just how advanced this 2,000-year-old computer truly was. The gears of this ancient computer have not yet stopped turning in the minds of modern researchers. Even after more than a century of intense study, the Antikythera Mechanism continues to whisper new secrets, each one revealed by a more powerful technological lens. The ongoing work of the International Antikythera Mechanism Research Project focuses on the smallest details, scrutinizing the fragments for microscopic tool marks that could reveal the exact manufacturing process. Were the gears cast from molds, or were they hand-filed from solid bronze? The answers could tell us about the workshop that produced it, and whether such places had specialized tools we have yet to discover. High-resolution surface imaging continues to tease out more text from the corroded surfaces, adding new words to the 3,500-character manual we already know. Recent analysis has uncovered previously overlooked references to the cycles of Venus and Mars, suggesting the planetary display was even more detailed and central to the device's purpose than we first believed. Some inscriptions might even link the mechanism's calculations to specific historical events, turning it from a pure scientific instrument into a potential chronicler of its time. This ceaseless refinement of understanding shows how a single artifact can generate a century of scientific inquiry, constantly challenging and reshaping our view of the ancient world. With each new discovery, researchers are led to a tantalizing possibility. Could parts of the mechanism still be missing? The shipwreck site has yielded more fragments over the years, and some scholars speculate that additional gears or even a second, similar device might still lie buried in the sediment. This hope fuels new expeditions to the depths of Antikythera and inspires searches in other Mediterranean shipwrecks, any one of which could hold a sibling to this technological marvel. The theoretical models, too, grow more ambitious. New proposals suggest the mechanism might have incorporated functions we have not yet considered, perhaps connecting planetary positions to the astrological theories that influenced ancient medicine, or even more sophisticated navigational aid. This last idea opens a profound line of thought. The device tracked the sun, moon, and stars with perfect precision. For a ship navigating the open sea, this was not abstract science, it was a matter of life and death. The mechanism could calculate the exact position of celestial bodies for any given date, providing a fixed reference point in a featureless ocean. Its parapegma, or star calendar, predicted seasonal weather patterns and wind changes crucial for any voyage. While we have no direct proof it was used for navigation, its capabilities align perfectly with the needs of ancient mariners. It stands as a powerful reminder that the most advanced technology of any era is often forged in the fires of practical necessity, a tool for crossing not just the sea, but the boundaries of human knowledge itself. That polished bronze box was not confined to a philosopher's library. It was a tool for crossing the open sea. For an ancient mariner navigating the vast Mediterranean, this device would have been a technological marvel of survival. While it was an astronomical calculator at its core, its functions translated directly into the language of navigation. One of the most critical tasks for any sailor was determining their latitude, their position north or south. The mechanism could calculate the precise altitude of key navigational stars for any given night. By knowing how high a star like Polaris should appear above the horizon at a specific date and time, a navigator could compare this prediction with his actual observation from the deck of his ship, giving him a reliable fix on his position once he lost sight of land. This transformed the machine from a theoretical model into a practical guide for traversing the featureless blue expanse. Its predictive power extended into the darkness. On a night when clouds obscured most of the familiar constellations, the mechanism's knowledge of the moon and planets became a lifeline. If you knew where Venus or Jupiter was supposed to be, even a brief break in the clouds could offer a celestial landmark to steer by. The device essentially provided a moving map of the night sky, allowing a navigator to plan his route based on what would be visible, turning unpredictable conditions into manageable risks. This was high technology applied to the most fundamental of human endeavors, exploration and trade. The mechanism's calendar functions were equally vital for voyage planning. Its parapegma, the star calendar on the back, linked the rising and setting of specific constellations with seasonal weather shifts. It could warn a captain of the impending onset of the stormy season, or indicate the arrival of the steady summer meltemi winds, crucial intelligence for deciding when to set sail and which route to take. Avoiding a single storm could mean the difference between a profitable journey and a catastrophic loss. Some researchers, studying the tiniest inscriptions, speculate that the device may have had even more direct navigational aids, perhaps calculating the rising and setting times of specific stars used for centuries as guideposts by Mediterranean sailors. This practical dimension reveals the mechanism as an engine of empire and economy. It served the merchants whose ships carried grain from Egypt to Rome, the naval commanders projecting military power across the sea, and the explorers seeking new trade routes. Its advanced technology was not an abstract pursuit. It was harnessed to meet the real-world demands of a civilization built on seafaring. And in its precise tracking of celestial cycles, it performed one more fundamental service. It became a master clock for the ancient world, a keeper of time on a scale that connected the hour to the age. This ancient timekeeper did far more than just chart the stars. It synchronized the very pulse of human civilization with the grand cycles of the cosmos. Inside its compact wooden case, multiple calendar systems coexisted and conversed, a necessity in the culturally mixed Mediterranean world. One prominent dial tracked the straightforward 365-day Egyptian calendar, the solar year that governed daily commerce and administration. Right beside it, the mechanism modeled the more complex and irregular lunar calendars used by the Greeks and others, with their alternating months of 29 and 30 days. This was not just a display of different dates, it was a functional converter. A merchant traveling from Alexandria to Corinth could turn the crank and instantly see how a date in the Egyptian system corresponded to the local lunar calendar, ensuring he never missed a market day or a religious festival. The device's most profound timekeeping feat was its management of the fundamental mismatch between lunar and solar time. The moon's cycles and the sun's year do not align neatly, causing lunar calendars to drift out of sync with the seasons over just a few years. The mechanism solved this ancient problem with mechanical genius. It incorporated the 19-year Metonic cycle, a period after which the phases of the moon realign with the solar year. A dedicated dial tracked this long count, and crucially, the gearwork was designed to automatically indicate when an intercalary month, an extra 13th month, needed to be inserted into the lunar calendar to keep it in step with the sun. This was the equivalent of a built-in leap year system, but for an entire lunar month, ensuring that seasonal festivals dedicated to the gods of harvest or rain would always occur in their proper season. Beyond the celestial and the civic, the mechanism also kept its user attuned to the social heartbeat of the Greek world. A special dial, the Olympiad dial, counted down the 4-year cycles leading to the great Pan-Hellenic Games. With a glance, you could see the years remaining until the Olympic Games in Olympia, the Pythian Games at Delphi, the Nemean Games, and the Isthmian Games. This was more than a sports schedule. It was a countdown to events that unified the entire Greek-speaking world, periods of sacred truce, intense competition, and shared cultural identity. This multifunctional approach reveals a holistic vision of time. For the user of this device, a single turn of the handle connected the daily sunrise, the monthly phase of the moon, the annual harvest, and the 4-year rhythm of the greatest athletic contests on Earth. It saw time not as a simple, linear count, but as a complex interweaving of natural and cultural rhythms, all worthy of precise measurement and reflection. The sheer mechanical complexity required to achieve this synchronization forces a new question. If they could build a machine of such intricate, miniaturized genius, what does that tell us about the workshops that produced it and the manufacturing capabilities of the ancient world that we have so profoundly underestimated? The precision of its gears speaks to a workshop buzzing with forgotten technologies. Each bronze component was shaped with a level of accuracy that defies our assumptions about ancient tools. The gear teeth, some smaller than a millimeter across, were cut with such consistency that they meshed together almost perfectly, a feat requiring tolerances of less than a millimeter. How did they achieve such microscopic perfection without modern machinery? The answer lies in the material itself. Analysis of the bronze reveals a high tin content, around 6 to 7%. This specific alloy was a deliberate engineering choice, creating a metal hard enough to resist wearing down over countless rotations, yet still malleable enough to be shaped with the hand tools of the era. It was the perfect balance for a machine built to last generations. The creation of these perfect little teeth likely involved a technique called rotary filing. Imagine a craftsman carefully turning a gear blank against a hardened metal template, using a file to painstakingly carve each tooth to match the profile. This was not a haphazard process of chiseling and guessing. It required specialized tools, purpose-built for creating precise gear profiles, implying a whole toolkit of devices we have yet to discover. The compact design of the mechanism itself is another marvel of spatial intelligence. Within that shoebox-sized case, multiple independent gear trains had to be planned to run in parallel, their axles perfectly aligned on bronze plates, all without interfering with one another. This was a three-dimensional puzzle of moving parts, solved entirely in the mind of the designer long before the first gear was ever cast. Even the dials bear witness to this obsession with accuracy. The scale markings dividing the zodiac and the calendar are precisely spaced, indicating the use of fine measuring and layout tools capable of creating these consistent graduations. Every aspect of the device, from its alloy recipe to its final assembly, points to a mature manufacturing tradition. This was not the product of a single inspired tinkerer. It is evidence of specialized workshops, places where technical knowledge was accumulated, refined, and passed down through generations of master craftsmen. They possessed a systematic understanding of materials, mechanics, and geometry. This level of manufacturing sophistication forces a profound philosophical question. We often picture ancient technology as crude and rudimentary, but the mechanism stands as irrefutable proof of an advanced technical culture. Its very existence compels us to ask not just how they built it, but what their capability to create such a perfect microcosm reveals about their entire worldview. That small wooden box did more than calculate, it philosophized. In its turning gears, we find the birth of a radical idea, the concept of a clockwork universe. Long before Newton or Galileo, the creators of this device saw the cosmos not as a realm of chaotic divine whims, but as a magnificent machine, operating according to predictable, mechanical principles that human reason could decode and even replicate. This was a profound departure from simply appeasing the gods. It was about understanding the engine of creation itself. The mechanism gave physical form to the abstract philosophies of thinkers like Pythagoras and Plato, who believed that beneath the apparent chaos of the stars lay a perfect mathematical harmony. Plato argued that the universe was crafted by a divine craftsman according to geometric blueprints, and here was that very idea made not of myth but of bronze. You could hold this cosmic order in your hands, turn a crank, and watch its perfect logic unfold. This transformed philosophy from a subject of pure contemplation into something you could interact with, a system you could test and observe. The very act of using the mechanism was a philosophical statement. It implied that the universe was fundamentally comprehensible, that its secrets were not locked away in the inaccessible minds of temperamental deities, but were written in a language of mathematics and mechanics that humans could learn to read. For the person operating this device, the terrifying unpredictability of an eclipse was replaced by the comforting certainty of a prediction. The mysterious looping path of Mars became a predictable mechanical dance. This tangible experience would have fundamentally shifted a user's perception of reality, fostering a worldview where nature operated by consistent, knowable rules. In this sense, the Antikythera Mechanism is evidence of a quiet scientific revolution that occurred 2,000 years ago. It shows us that the intellectual foundations of modern science, the belief in a lawful, predictable cosmos, have roots that reach much deeper into antiquity than we often acknowledge. This sophisticated mechanistic worldview, however, did not emerge from a vacuum. It forces us to wonder how such a profound and advanced understanding of the cosmos was developed, shared, and then so completely lost to time. The Antikythera Mechanism did not vanish in a single moment, but faded from the world like a star at dawn. Its disappearance is a story of collapsing systems, where the very networks that gave it life were dismantled piece by piece. The great Hellenistic centers of learning, like the legendary Library of Alexandria, were not just repositories of scrolls, they were vibrant ecosystems of innovation. When these hubs declined, the collaborative spirit they fostered withered. The specialized workshops that produced such devices relied on a steady stream of commissions from wealthy patrons and royal courts who valued theoretical knowledge. As the Roman Empire consolidated power, its focus shifted decisively toward more immediate, practical engineering, aqueducts, roads, and military machinery. The intricate cosmic calculator, a marvel of pure science, no longer had a clear economic or cultural patron. The knowledge did not simply evaporate, it became orphaned, a luxury few could afford to pursue or even understand. This technological regression reveals a terrifying vulnerability. The mechanism was not the product of one genius, but of a fragile chain of collaboration. It required the master astronomer to define the gear ratios, the mathematician to translate celestial cycles into prime numbers, and the incomparable metalworker to cut those ratios into bronze with near microscopic precision. If any one link in that chain broke, the entire tradition could collapse. As political instability and conflict led to the destruction of libraries and the dispersal of scholars, that chain was shattered. The knowledge became fragmented, scattered across a shrinking world. A mathematician might survive with his scrolls, but without the workshop to turn his calculations into gears, the practical art was lost. A metalworker might retain his skill, but without the astronomical theories to guide him, his craft would never again produce such a device. This pattern offers a sobering lesson for our own technological civilization. Advanced knowledge is not a flame that, once lit, burns eternally. It is more like a delicate garden that requires constant cultivation, a specific set of cultural, economic, and educational conditions to thrive across generations. We assume progress is a one-way street, an inevitable climb upward. The silent, corroded fragments of the mechanism tell a different story. They testify that entire libraries of technical skill can be erased, that the most brilliant minds can leave no heirs, and that the light of understanding can indeed be snuffed out for 1,000 years. This makes the modern effort to decipher its secrets all the more poignant. We are not just studying an ancient artifact, we are reassembling a lost world of thought, piece by precious piece, in a race against a silence that has already fallen once. Its silent gears force us to question the very nature of progress itself. We often envision technology's history as a straight, upward sloping line, a steady march from primitive tools to sophisticated silicon. The Antikythera Mechanism shatters that comforting illusion. Its existence proves that advanced innovation can flare into brilliance, only to be completely lost for over a millennium, its light extinguished by political upheaval, economic shifts, and the fragile nature of knowledge itself. This was not a slow evolution, but a revolution that was then forgotten, a spark that failed to catch until conditions were right over 1,000 years later. The conceptual DNA of modern computing is written in this ancient bronze. The mechanism operated on a stored program, its functions permanently encoded in the fixed ratios of its gear teeth. You provided the input by setting a date on its dial, you initiated the processing by turning its handle, and you received a complex output on its multiple displays, a calculated forecast of celestial events. This was a specialized mechanical computer performing tasks that would otherwise require a room full of scribes and mathematicians. It reshapes our entire understanding of the timeline of invention, placing the foundational ideas of computation not in the 19th century, but squarely in the 1st century before the Common Era. This single artifact is a powerful warning against the arrogance of the present. We are constantly tempted to judge past civilizations by the scattered ruins and broken pottery they left behind, assuming that what we have found represents the peak of their capability. The mechanism teaches us the opposite lesson. It survived by a 1 in a million fluke, protected by a shipwreck at the bottom of the sea. How many other marvels built from wood or other perishable materials were melted down for their bronze or simply rotted away, leaving no trace for us to discover? The silent gaps in our archaeological record may be hiding entire chapters of technological achievement we have yet to dream of. Its rediscovery has ignited a new field of experimental archaeology, where the best way to understand the past is to try to rebuild it. Scholars and master craftsmen around the world now collaborate to reconstruct ancient devices based on textual clues and fragmentary evidence, using only the tools and materials that would have been available at the time. By attempting to recast the bronze, cut the gears, and assemble the pieces, they are not just building models, they are reverse engineering the thought processes of ancient engineers, feeling the same challenges and triumphs. This hands-on research has become a vital tool for testing historical theories and breathing life back into lost knowledge. Above all else, the mechanism is a timeless testament to a shared human drive. The individual who first designed its gear trains and the modern scientist peering at its X-ray images are connected by the same insatiable curiosity about the cosmos and the same irrepressible urge to build a tool to comprehend it. This 2,000-year-old computer is not a relic of an alien past, but a bridge. It shows us that the passion to model the universe, to predict its patterns, and to hold a piece of its mystery in our hands is a fundamental part of who we are, a thread of intellectual passion that spans the centuries and connects us directly with the minds of our ancient predecessors. This profound connection brings us to the final, lasting echoes of this remarkable device. The Antikythera Mechanism stands as a permanent monument to human ingenuity, a silent witness to a forgotten age of scientific brilliance. From its chance recovery by sponge divers to the high-tech scans that now map its interior, this 2,000-year-old computer embodies a timeless truth. The desire to comprehend the cosmos, to model its intricate dance and predict its patterns, is a fundamental human impulse that connects us directly with those ancient minds. Its delicate bronze gears and precisely calculated tooth counts represent a technological peak that would not be reached again for over 1,000 years, forcing us to abandon any simple story of linear advancement. This single artifact, preserved by the sheerest luck, teaches a profound humility. We are reminded of how much history has been lost and how many other marvels may have vanished without a trace, their stories silenced by time. As research continues, each new fragment of text or subtle gear function invites us to see the ancient world not as a primitive prelude, but as a landscape of astonishing possibility. It challenges us to question what we think we know about the past and to appreciate the fragile, precious threads of knowledge that must be actively preserved across the generations. This extraordinary device is more than a relic, it is an inspiration. What other ancient wonders do you suppose still lie hidden in the earth or the deep sea, waiting for their chance to rewrite history? The story of human discovery is far from over, and the next great mystery is always just ahead.